الرحمن الرحيم.
In this conclusive debate, notice something. The verse from the Bible, as read clearly in the text, contradicts the Christian belief. It shows that Jesus himself says that nobody knows the hour, not the Son, only the Father. And the Christian belief that Jesus was fully God and fully man on earth would show that he would have to have that knowledge. Now they see that their creed that they have developed and warped does not fit their own text. So two of these preachers are going to give two contradictory explanations. They're making stuff up to justify a belief that is not justified by even their own text. One is going to say that the knowledge of the hour was hidden from Jesus. He veiled it from himself. So he didn't have it on earth. And he, in his own example, gives the example of somebody that learns a language and then forgets a word until they're reminded. So he doesn't have it. It is forgotten. It is taken away from him. It is hidden until a time comes. The second preacher will give a contradictory answer, another thing they made up, which is that he did have the knowledge. He just didn't want to declare it because it was God's place to declare it. Those both can't be. Either he forgot, it was hidden, veiled, not present, or it was and he wasn't declaring. They can't both be. Neither one of them fits the text. The text clearly shows Jesus didn't know. But pay attention to this, that both of these preachers that came together contradict each other in trying to read their own creed against their own text.
That he did know.
You said that he forgot, that he had put it away. Or what did you say? Tell the truth. What did you say then?
I said he failed.
So he didn't know it at the...
So just like a word in Spanish, right? Let's say, I don't know, if I asked you, hey, how do you say shoes in Spanish?
Zapatos.
But let's just say that you knew that, back, 10 years ago.
And then I forgot
it. Forgot what it was.
Plus, I don't know it now.
I tell you it's zapatos, and you say, you know what? I knew that.
Exactly. But
at the moment when I asked you,
perfect.
Like, I don't know, but I tell you, and you say, oh, I knew that.
Perfect example.
Right?
So let's stick with that. Good example.
What I'm saying is,
I understand.
Would that mean that you didn't know?
Yes.
Or you just forgot.
Excellent.
Right.
So at the time that I had forgotten, right? At that time I didn't know until you reminded me, right? So excellent.
Right.
So God always knows everything, right? We agreed on that.
Correct.
God doesn't need to be reminded, right? So that, according to the example that you gave, and a beautiful example at that, right?
Thank you.
When I forgot the word in Spanish, at that time, I was no longer all-knowing of the Spanish language, right? When you reminded me, yes, it triggered something and I got it back. Makes sense.
So it's God, in your subconscious memory.
Excellent.
But when I reminded you, then it was once again unleashed.
Excellent. Gotcha. Now, at that moment, when it was in the subconscious and I didn't know, when I didn't have it present, I cannot claim to know, right? That is the time when I don't know, but your reminding me reminds me, and then when I'm able to respond, then I know. If God had it where he could not know, then that's a lack of knowledge. Then to say that God knows everything at all times, which me and you agreed to already, then says at that time when he didn't know the hour, he by your definition could not be God. The contradiction between your statements, let me just make it very clear. And inshallah we have it on tape. If we do, we'll put the clip in for you, right?
We can end up going back to
which is that you said, as you gave the example of Spanish, that at that time it was in his subconscious. He couldn't remember until somebody reminds him, meaning at that time he did not have access to that knowledge. He was not knowing. At that time you said when he came down in his it was veiled, right? He's saying no, he had the knowledge, he just didn't declare it. He had it on the top of his tongue. He could have said it, but it wasn't his. The Jewish wedding example. Those are two contradictory examples, and you just said it is. No. You just nodded your head, bro.
As far as the Jewish wedding.
Okay, so the Jewish wedding is that you know the date, but you're not going to reveal it.
What I said.
Look, let me. You know this mix. Okay. Either, for example, if I ask you when is the quinceañera, and you say right now that slipped my mind, that has veiled. I don't know it right now. It's been veiled from me. That's one thing. And the other thing is, if you do know
the clarity.
But
I see what you're saying.
Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, I see.
Come
I
here.
see
Come
what
here.
you-
Come here.
But it's the way that you're wording it.
I appreciate the fact that at least we can agree that those are. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
Hold on. Again, it's the way you're wording it to make it seem like a contradiction.
Okay, but those are two different things, right? One is that you know it, but you're not declaring.
Your example would be two different things.
His example about the Jewish wedding.
The
quinceañera, same thing, the Jewish wedding, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. The example you just gave would make it seem like it's contradictory.
Thank you.
But the example that he gave and the example that I gave earlier.
Okay, so let's use his example about the Jewish wedding, right? So if the father is the one who's going to announce it and the bride knows, that is different from your example where at that time that knowledge has been veiled from him and he doesn't have that knowledge until somebody reminds him. You said, like the shoes, like when somebody reminds you zapatos, you're like, oh, I knew that. But at that moment you didn't. He's saying Jesus did know, he just didn't want to declare it because it was the Father's place to declare. So those are two contradictory, different explanations. I'm okay with you guys having differences.
That he knew.
But he didn't. You said he knew, but it was in his subconscious, right? You said it was not in his conscious.
It could have been in his.
You didn't say could have.
Yes, it could be in his subconscious.
A veiling of knowledge doesn't mean knowledge doesn't exist.
So if the knowledge is veiled. If the knowledge is veiled, that means he doesn't have access to it at that time. You're saying he did, he just didn't want to declare it because it was the Father's place to. Those are two different, contradictory explanations, and you know that.
No, it's not contradictory, it's different, Uthman. So when you're saying, because you're trying to say that he's saying that Jesus didn't know.
And let me just respond to Acts as well.
Really quick.
Go ahead.
Saying that something is veiled doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It's just covered up.
Sure, but that is not the same as knowing at the top of your tongue, but not declaring because it's some. It is different. So those are two different. It can't be both.
Look,
can it be both?
Sure. Look.
How can it be both? Either you have it and you don't declare it, or it's been veiled and you don't have it at the access at that time until somebody reminds you.
This is what I'm
saying. Danny, you think
it
could be both?
This is what I'm saying.
I do believe it can.
Bro, you guys, this Trinity stuff's messed up your minds, man.
It's not that. It's a shallow understanding, bro.
No, it's a very clear. It cannot be both.
Do you know what a contradictory
yes,
is?
Two things that cannot be. They're two opposites.
A cannot be non-A.
Exactly.
So we're talking about
either.
No. Listen. Okay. We're talking about whether or not Jesus had the knowledge, right?
Excellent.
So we both agree in both examples that Jesus possesses that knowledge.
Keep
now,
going.
Whether or not he's saying in his explanation that the knowledge is veiled. Not that he doesn't have it, but he veiled it.
So he doesn't have access to it. It's veiled.
It's veiled.
Okay.
It's not that he doesn't have access to it.
And in your explanation?
He veiled it.
And your explanation?
So it doesn't mean that, so when he veiled it, it's there, right?
But it's not accessible.
But
your explanation is different. No, hold on.
Answer the question.
Is it not there for him to chair? It's veiled. It doesn't have access to it.
So if he wants to unveil it, can he?
So it depends. In his example, we said if somebody reminds you.
No, so that's
right. So hold on.
That's where the analogy.
Avery, hold on.
Doesn't match.
Let me make it simple, and you know it's going to be simple, right? I'm going to make it very simple, right? I am. I'm going to stick to it and make you stick to it, okay? Because you're trying to slip from it. Let's go back to it, right? If I ask you, what did you study a second language in high school?
I did.
What did you study?
Spanish.
Good, great. Example works, right? If I ask you a word that today you forgot, you remembered it back then, right? And I ask you, hey, what does this word mean? Right? And you're like, you know what, bro? It slipped my mind nowadays. I know I studied it, but at this moment, I can't tell you. I don't know right now, right? Now, in his example that he gave, he said, if they then remind you, it might come back. Okay, that's his example. Okay. But if you say, I know the word's meaning, but out of respect for my teacher, I'm not going to say it. I can tell you right now, but I'm not going to say it because it's his place to declare. Your example. How is that a false analogy?
Because his example has nothing to do with him being reminded of something.
It exactly was, because that's what he said. Well, and I'm glad, I hope we have it on tape. I hope we have it on tape. You said about the reminding, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He just said yes. He just said yes. No, hold on, Avery. I know you're trying to ignore him now, but don't ignore your buddy. He just said, I know, but he just said yes, he did. So don't tell me he didn't.
This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
when it comes to his explanation, because I understand his explanation, I don't agree with the reminded thing.
So you don't agree with his explanation?
Not with the reminded part.
Okay.
I feel like that's a little off in my opinion.
He just called you off, bro. It's all good. It's all good. It's all, Danny. You're good with us, man. Don't worry about it.
Because it's not about being reminded when it comes to Jesus and his knowledge or his veiled knowledge. It's not reminded or anything of that. We're talking about veiled attributes. So it's not reminded of anything.
To be honest, you know you're trying to get out of this, right?
There's
So
nothing
I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go, and I wanna before we have to go pray Asr, I'm gonna get to your other verse because I want to make sure you don't think any rock got unturned, right?
Yeah, very good.
Here, now when you say that in Acts, right, it mentions that therefore when they came together, they asked him saying, Lord, will you be at the... Okay, so this is the other verse that you gave, where he said, therefore, when they had come together and they asked him, saying, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? And he said to them, it is not for you to know times or seasons which the Father has put in his own authority. This nowhere does it say that Jesus knew. Nowhere. You are reading into the text a criminal reading. Let me explain this again. If you let me finish. Let me finish, right? If you ask me, criminal reading, yeah, that's a crime when you read your own thoughts that much into the Bible, right? I got you. Look at this, right? If you ask me, hey, what time do you guys pray at the mosque? And I tell you nobody knows but the imam of the mosque. Nobody knows, right? I'm not saying that that's all I know about, like the Paul. I'm saying nobody knows. I'm clarifying, not even the people who pray there, not even me, not even the students, only the imam knows, right? That is a very clear statement. Then if you keep asking me and I tell you, you know what does it matter to you what time they pray? Just show up at the mosque. That is not saying that I know. I'm just saying this is not something you should be worried about anyway. But it nowhere does it even indicate that Jesus knew. Thank you.
All right, so now let's go over.
He's already got a response ready.
Of course, I've heard all of this, man.
Because he just wants to refute it.
So it's not just about refuting. I hope to bring understanding. I know you probably won't.
I hope so.
Just to get.
If you want to bring understanding, you got to open your mind too, Avery.
I trust me.
All right.
I hear everything that you're saying.
Okay, good.
Based on the statements alone, on a shallow reading of it, it's very clear that it's a statement of ignorance off of a shallow reading of it.
At least we can agree. Hold on. Let's agree to one thing. Let's shake hands. We're friends. Relax.
What?
At least we can agree that
I gotta make sure with
no.
slip.
Relax, bro. Relax. At least you can say from a reading of the text, just the text by itself, not in depth. How is that from a shallow reading? Let's say.
Thank you.
You does show ignorance, right? Okay. Show that Jesus didn't know.
No.
You just said that.
What I'm saying is based off a shallow reading of the text, not understanding what you're reading, it can seem like it's a statement of ignorance. But once you actually read into the text, once you see the context,
once you try to put your thoughts into it,
and I don't even got to do that. Once you see how the Bible uses the word know, and how and the attributes that are applied to Jesus, you know exactly what it's talking about. Because when Jesus gives detail upon detail, line upon line, about what's about to happen when he comes.
True, except he doesn't know.
It's not that at all.
It is.
And then not only that, and then he compares his coming to a Jewish wedding.
Sure.
And when we know that in a Jewish wedding, it's the father that announces the coming.
Gotcha.
Not the son.
But does the son know?
Yes, the son knows when he's going to get married.
So now
Wait, let me finish, please. You went on for a minute.
I'm listening.
Okay, so when we understand it beyond the shallow readings, but actually digging below the surface, doing the word study and the scripture study, doing exegesis, we can, and then using scripture to back up scripture. When we see Jesus is asked the same question, instead of saying, "Oh, I told you, we don't know," instead of saying, "I already told you guys, I don't know," he says it's not for you to know.
Doesn't say I know.
And then he emphasizes that this is what is fixed by the Father's authority.
Not his.
So it's not out of line exactly what I'm explaining. How it lines up with the Jewish tradition.
I will let you finish.
To the wedding, and how it's the Father that announces it. Not that the Son is ignorant. And I showed you an example of how the word know is used in a declarative sense. exactly what is going on here. It's not the example that you brought up. The example you brought up is a false analogy.
I'm going to let you finish.
The example here is a statement of declaration. It's not for the Son or anybody else to declare it. And it's not for anybody else other than the Son and the Father and the Spirit by that to know what exactly has happened in this day. That's pretty clear.
Are you done?
I want to show you an example of Jesus.
I'm going to let you finish, bro.
Here's my question to you. For a mind to know God, can you know God fully with your finite mind?
What do you mean by know God?
Like, can you know everything about Him?
No.
So it would take an infinite mind to know God fully, right? Okay. So Jesus Himself says that no one knows the Father except the Son.
Okay.
And no one knows the Son except the Father who He chooses to reveal it. So if Jesus is saying that He is the only one who knows the Father, He knows God,
right?
Everything about Him, knows Him fully, doesn't that demonstrate that Jesus is explicitly claiming to have an omniscient mind?
I'll let you finish.
I'm asking this question.
Okay, but I need to finish the earlier stuff too. Don't try to skip away now. You see that?
Nothing.
You say you're trying to change the subject now, right?
I
got you. You're a flow you're trying to escape from.
You change it from Messiah.
Bro, because we discussed that and I told you I'll bring you evidences back next week. So then, didn't I tell you that? You seem surprised right now, right? If I can show you evidences of being Messiah and the meaning of the word Messiah from the Quran, from a hadith, and who else it has been used for, that is what you asked for, I will bring it for you, no problem. Right? Now you're trying to skip because you know that here you have, you're trying to skip, but it's all right. Let me, you're trying to flow away from it, but I got you. Now, let's say this very clearly, right? For you to say that Jesus knew as the Father knew, meaning He knew everything, He just did not declare it, that is very different than from what Danny said, first off, right?
It's a different explanation.
It's a different explanation. It cannot be both. Either He knew and didn't declare it, or at that time, that was something hidden from Him, veiled from Him, and He would then know it at a different time. It cannot be both. That is why that's a contradiction.
No.
Now,
can
I finish? Okay. Now, secondly, when I gave you a very clear example of how the word know is used differently, in the example you gave of Paul, right, which is where he says that all I know is this, which is showing an emphasis that is very different from saying that nobody knows it except one person.
How?
Those are, let me give you an example again, which I gave you, but you kind of, maybe you're worried about it. Let me finish.
I said I knew nothing.
Nothing, right? Sure.
Except. So
I got you. I got you. I'll give you an example right now. I'll give you an example, right? Which I gave already, but you're trying to have amnesia.
No,
you're trying to hide it, right? Let me say it.
Just use the same phrase.
When I'm talking to Danny and he tells me, do you like football? And I tell you, all I know about is the Raiders. That's all I know about, right? I know nothing but the Raiders. I'm not meaning that I don't know anything else about football. I'm showing an emphasis on a certain subject or a certain team. Here, an emphasis is being given to Jesus and the crucifixion. That is not the same as somebody asking me, what exit do you take? And I say, nobody knows it except my son. That is a total different use of the word. For you, hold on, let me finish now. See how I listen to you? I listen to you the whole time. I listen to you, let me finish.
You cut in sometimes.
All right? I told you I'm listening to you, and I stayed quiet until you finished, and then I asked you, are you finished?
Go ahead.
Okay. So here, when you bring another example, this is why I said this is criminal, because what you're doing is a clear text reads something, and you're adding to it. When the text says that when is the restore of the kingdom of Israel, and Jesus' response here is, don't worry about it. That's not for you to worry about the seasons. You're saying this means He knew. That is total reading into the text what you want, right? If you ask, and I'm going to give this example again, even though it was very clear, because you kind of hid it in your memory, right? If you ask me, what time is the prayer at the mosque? And I tell you, look, nobody knows the time, not even the people praying there, not even me, not even anybody else, only the imam knows. Right? That is very specific. Now, if somebody else comes and asks me again, and out of frustration, I tell them, look, why are you worried about the timing? If you need to go to the prayer, just go to the mosque and you'll find it. That does not mean that I know. you're reading into it what is not in the text, right? And then you call it a shallow reading. It's not a shallow reading, it's a literal reading. And one is that you've already got a mindset made, and then you're bringing different explanations to justify something. Contradictory explanations, just because you want to justify it and not stick to your text.
All right. So remember, I asked you what is a contradiction, right?
Yes.
So
two things that cannot be.
Cannot be.
Yes.
Okay. So if Jesus is speaking from a declarative sense,
okay, meaning that he knew,
meaning that he knows,
but he just doesn't want to declare
it's
it.
not for him to declare.
That's one
right?
thing.
Now, let's say this knowledge that he has is veiled. Does it mean that he doesn't know?
Okay, hold on. You asked, right?
Yes.
So the difference there is, one is I know it, I'm just not going to declare it. The other is at that time it's hidden, I don't know it, and that's, again, right? When it's hidden, when it's not accessible, I don't have that knowledge to share. I can't get to it. It's something hidden from me. And it's not just that I don't want to declare it, right? Those are two, look, I gave you an example already, and you know about your Spanish class, right? If you studied something in Spanish, hold on. Let me just give this example again because it clarifies it.
It's a simple question.
If you knew something in your Spanish class, let me just finish.
It's a simple
you
question.
asked a question. Let me finish.
I'm not talking about something being reminded.
I know, but look, you asked me a question. You got to listen to my answer.
No,
okay?
you're giving a whole. You're going off of something.
I'm not going off something.
Specific.
I'm giving you a specific answer. If you studied something in your Spanish class and you remember it, but you just don't want to declare it, again, you're not letting me finish, bro.
Because you're going.
Can I finish? Just let me finish, and then you can take my analogy apart. It's okay. It's not wasting time.
Yeah.
When I speak, it's wasting time, and when you speak, it's not. That's not like that. Okay. I think all your analogies were false, but I still listen to you out of respect. Now, let me just speak. I let you speak. Let me speak. When you remembered something from your Spanish class, and you were just not declaring it, out of respect for somebody else, the Jewish wedding analogy that you gave, that is not the same as if that knowledge had been hidden for you at that time. You could not recall it. It might be in your subconscious, but you do not say it because it's not there. Those are two different contradictory things, and you know it.
What you just said is a contradictory. That's why I tried to stop you from strawmanning.
That's not strawmanning. Those are examples there.
So it's okay. So when something is veiled, does that mean it doesn't exist? Yes or no?
Do you want me to respond?
Yeah, with the yes or no.
No, I'm not. Look. You can't tell me how to respond.
It's a yes.
You can ask a question and I will respond my way.
Yes or no?
You want to answer? Listen.
It's a yes or no.
You want to answer?
I don't need a long explanation.
Look, you're not a judge, right? It's not a courtroom. You can't tell me answer this way. If you ask a question,
ask it back to me.
What? No, I'm not going to ask it back to you. No, I'm not your puppet, bro. I'm not going to pull my strings here, guy. Ask it back to me. No thanks. Yeah. Listen. If you have access to the knowledge, if you have it and don't declare it, that is not the same as if it's hidden from you and you don't have it accessible at the time. Those are two different things.
All right, so here's my question to you. If something is veiled, does it mean that you don't have access to that thing anymore?
Yes.
Really?
At that moment, yes, it's veiled.
So
right, that's exactly what it means. Hidden from you at that time.
Okay, very good.
It might come back to you.
So we'll see how consistent you are.
Okay.
So does Allah not have a veil?
Okay, let me explain it to you. Let me explain it. You asked a question, I will answer it.
Yes or no.
Let me answer a question. No, it's not a yes or no. This is where you want to try to trick me.
Either he
but we're
has
not
a veil
tricking.
or he doesn't
Sure.
have a veil.
If you're talking about his knowledge, there is no veil in the knowledge of Allah. Allah knows everything. His veil from us is that we cannot see him in this worldly life.
Great.
That's it.
So does Allah have a veil, yes or no?
Again, you're confusing two different things, and I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let you.
No, I'm not.
I feel where you're going. Don't think you can do it. Now, there is a difference. There is a difference. It's a nur. It's a light.
Exactly.
That stops us from seeing him.
Okay.
In this worldly life.
What happens if he removes it?
Then we see it. We see Allah.
And what happens?
On the Day of Judgment.
No.
We see Allah.
No.
What?
What happens if Allah removes the light that veils his glory? First of all, what is?
Again, this has got nothing to do with what we're talking about. Go ahead.
Because we're talking about
trying to jump. I see
and
it.
what you're doing is you're saying that because something is veiled, that means you don't have access to it anymore.
So let's do that. If somebody asks me, have you seen Allah? I will say no. There's a veil.
I'm not done.
It doesn't mean that Allah is there, of course.
I'm not done.
Right? But because there's a veil, I have no access to see Allah. That is true.
I like how you did that.
Good.
So if we keep that same energy as we go.
Keep going.
All right.
I got you. My energy doesn't go down.
Allah says that he has a veil,
yes.
what is Allah veiling? What exactly is he veiling?
Himself and his glory from the creation who's not ready for it.
So if he's veiling his glory,
yeah,
does that mean that he doesn't have access to his glory anymore?
Okay, again, you made a mistake there. He's not veiling his glory from himself. It's from us. We do not have, from us. Well, you didn't know that? You thought he was veiling himself from himself? Again, okay, now you see, this is where I had such like high hopes that maybe after this time you had kind of gotten better, but you disappoint. Let me explain this. All right, let's do this, okay?
We're both mutual here.
Gotcha. If you veil yourself from us, there's a veil from us. You are not veiled, you are complete. We don't have access to you.
Correct.
Right. Now, if you're saying Jesus had the knowledge and it was veiled from him, that means Jesus did not have access to it. No. As we do not see Allah in this world. No. That is, you know you're done. You know this is done. This is done, bro. Done. Now, let me finish. Let me finish about Allah's access.
When you said,
go ahead.
When you said that to have a veil means that you don't have access to that thing anymore.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you said.
That is true. So we in this world
do
not have access to seeing Allah.
Stop it. You're in trouble.
How's that?
Because Allah has a veil. He veils his glory. So if having a veil means that you don't have access to that thing anymore, then that means Allah doesn't have access to that.
Who's the veil
anymore.
from?
That's ridiculous.
Who's the veil from?
It's ridiculous.
Who's the veil from?
See,
he won't answer. He won't answer now. Let me explain this again, right?
It's a veil.
Let me explain this again.
You're in trouble.
No, I'm not in trouble. You know you're trying to get out of this, all right?
You're in trouble.
When Allah veils from us, we do not have access to Allah in this world, right? But Allah, the world is not veiled from Allah. But you said the knowledge is veiled from Jesus. So that would mean Jesus would not have access to the knowledge, not the knowledge to Jesus. And you know you're in trouble now. You're caught. Your example didn't make sense. Allah has let me finish. Allah has complete knowledge. None of the knowledge of Allah is ever hidden from him. He has access to his knowledge at all times. None of his knowledge is hidden from him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's above all of that, right? We are veiled. We do not see the Allah directly in this life. But that doesn't mean Allah doesn't see us. Allah sees everything. He's Alim and Basir, right? Allah has access to all of his glory, all of his knowledge at all times. We have a veil between us and Allah. Now, when your example, Jesus had the veil between him and the knowledge. This is where you tried to trick and got caught. Jesus, he said that there was a veil, and then you said he did have the knowledge, which are two contradictory examples, and then you try to get out of it. You said he had the knowledge, just didn't want to declare it. He said that there was a veil, it was hidden from Jesus at that time. He did not have access to that knowledge. Two different things, and you know that.
All right, so you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, so it's interesting to me how inconsistent you are with this whole veil thing.
I think I was pretty consistent there, buddy.
What Danny has described to you, and what we're talking about,
which you gave a different explanation to, right?
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, man. Let me rock.
I go for it. Rock yourself. Rock on.
So when it's talking about veiling the knowledge, so we're talking about in Jesus, who has a divine nature and a human nature.
Okay.
So we're talking about two natures that are united in one person.
Okay.
So you got a human consciousness, a divine consciousness, where Jesus is living with the human consciousness,
like a multiple personality.
That's how
disorder.
that's how he's limiting himself freely using this. If he wanted to, he can access his divine attributes. Let me finish. Please.
Okay, go ahead. I'm just trying to understand it.
Let me lay this out for you before you try to cut. See,
I'm just trying to understand. I'm not trying to cut. No, I'm not. I wanted to understand what you're saying. I'm not. It's not a response. My question is, are those two natures? Are those two natures united?
Let me just go.
Okay, go ahead.
So when you're talking about Jesus here, and him veiling with his example, saying that
nobody knows.
Veiled this knowledge, this divine attribute of his knowledge.
It's
not that he doesn't have access to it. If he wanted to, he can unveil it. If he wanted to.
But you're just reading into that.
That it's not there.
But the text says no one knows.
Let me finish, please.
Okay, go ahead.
So that's why I asked you, do you know what a contradiction is?
Yes.
Because a contradiction is saying, because you're trying to say that if Jesus veiled that knowledge, that means he didn't know it. That's what your position.
That's
is.
what he said.
No, that's not what he said.
We'll say what he said. Go
That's
ahead.
not what he said.
We have it recorded. Inshallah, we'll play
If
it.
he has access to that knowledge,
Okay.
he can bring it out if he wants.
Okay.
In his example.
Okay.
But he veiled it. He's
But in
veiled
your
it
example,
living as a human.
But in
Let
your
me-
example was not veiled, right? Okay, go ahead. I'm just trying to understand your example.
No, see,
Go ahead.
when I did that,
All right, go ahead.
thank you. So, what I'm trying to show you is, even in his example, there's no contradiction.
Okay.
It's a different explanation, yes, but it's not a contradiction.
Okay.
Because I'm saying that Jesus knows
That there
and
was
he's
not
saying,
veiled.
and he's saying that his no. I'm not saying anything about not being veiled at anything.
Look,
I'm not saying anything about being
right
veiled.
here. Now you're trying to jump.
No,
Earlier you
Usman,
said.
Did I say anything about veil? Did I bring up a
let me
veil?
ask you then.
Did I,
Okay,
no,
let me
no,
ask
no,
you.
no, no, no.
Let me be clear.
No, because when you brought this up,
Okay.
did I say anything
I
about
will
a
let you
veil?
finish what you're saying.
No,
first.
I'm asking you straight up.
You
Did I
said.
say anything about a
No,
veil?
you didn't. But
Thank
you said he knew.
Thank you.
You said he
So, all right,
he
so-
knew it,
all right, so
right?
stick
It
there.
was not hidden from him.
So
It
stick
was not
there.
veiled from him.
Stick there.
You
No,
said
no,
he knew it.
stop here.
He just didn't want to declare it.
Stop here.
He said it was
Uthman,
veiled.
you're
No.
going over me now.
No.
I see.
That's why I let you finish, right?
No, I wasn't done.
Okay, go ahead.
I asked you specifically, did I say this
I will
or
let
not
you
so that I
finish
can
speaking.
Continue?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you for admitting that I didn't say anything about veiling of knowledge or anything like that. I said Jesus knows. In his example, with Jesus' knowledge being veiled, does not necessitate that he doesn't know. It's just veiled knowledge. So those are not contradictory statements. You're trying to say that they're contradictory. They're not contradictory.
I will let you finish.
So even though I didn't bring up anything about a veil, I don't have to, because his explanation doesn't contradict my explanation. It's just a different explanation. And so when you're going about this, and you're talking about if something is veiled, then it means you don't have access to it anymore, then you're in trouble, because Allah has a veil, and you're saying that by your knowledge, by your logic, Allah doesn't have access to His glory anymore. Here's an example.
Again, you're lying. You're lying into Islam. So let me just say about Islam.
No, hold on.
It did not. Okay,
I'm
go
not
ahead.
done.
I'll let you
I'm not
finish.
done.
I'll let you finish.
Because I want to give you an example
Go ahead.
of Jesus unveiling Himself.
Go ahead.
So you have the mountain of
So now you're saying there was veil.
Huh? No, I'm giving you an example
Okay.
of Jesus, because I'm showing you how it's not.
But you're saying there was no veil anywhere, right?
I didn't say anything like that. So no, what are you chuckling
Okay,
for? You admitted that I didn't say anything about a veil.
Okay, I'll let you finish,
So
bro.
please,
I'm
just
letting you
listen
finish
to
the
me.
whole time I'm listening to
Listen to me.
you. All right.
All right, good. So look, what I want to show you is an example of Jesus unveiling Himself.
Okay.
And what that means is what you said is false, meaning that if Jesus veiled something, it means He doesn't have access to it anymore. That's
Okay.
false, because
I'm listening.
veiling, just because He veils it doesn't mean He can't unveil it when He wants.
Okay.
He has access to it when He wants.
I'll let
so
you finish.
On the Mount of Transfiguration, Matthew chapter 17, I believe it is, Jesus is on the mountain, and He unveils, comes out of His human nature in some form, and now He's just shining bright. His form, His similitude is just shining bright like the sun, it describes it.
Okay.
And this is when Moses comes down and Elijah come down, and they're talking with him, and then the Father speaks and says, "This is my son, listen to him."
Okay.
Right? And so this is an example of Jesus unveiling and showing a glimpse of His nature.
Okay. And this was
showing
when?
that He has access to it. This is Matthew chapter 17.
No, I'm saying chronologically, before or after crucifixion.
This is before the crucifixion.
Okay, go ahead.
So He has access to this.
Okay.
But He chooses to veil it, chooses to unveil it, whatever He wants.
Gotcha.
Jesus had knowledge of what people were thinking.
Okay.
Jesus had knowledge of when people were accusing Him of blasphemy in their hearts.
Gotcha.
The Bible says, and even the Quran says, that only Allah knows what's in the mind of man. Now, only
I
Allah
will
knows
let you
what's in the
finish.
hearts. Is that correct?
Look, again, you're jumping from the subject
No,
now.
no,
and
I'm
who
not
knows?
jumping on
You
the
are. You
subject.
really are.
I'm not
I just
jumping
let
on
you
the subject.
finish this whole tirade,
No,
and instead of letting me
not.
respond now you're like, does Allah know everything? Of course
no,
Allah knows
a
everything,
conversation.
but Allah reveals. No, you're jumping from the
No, I'm
subject.
not jumping.
You
I'm-
are.
I'm-
You know
look,
you are.
I'm
You're
adding-
changing
I'm
subjects.
adding nuggets to
You're
give you the
not.
full
You're not.
picture.
You're jumping
You just
from the
want
subject.
the shallow
No,
understanding.
I want to keep to the text.
I wanna help you.
No. You're not trying to help me.
I am
You're trying to
trying to help you,
escape,
Usman.
right? But we'll go back to it now,
I'm trying to
okay?
help you.
But I'm not gonna let you escape this, right?
there's
Let's
no
go back to
escape.
this. Let's
You
go
gotta
back
learn
to
it, man.
it. Okay, now can I
just
speak
gotta
now?
learn it.
Are you done?
You just gotta learn it.
Are you done?
Wait, so did you answer? You didn't answer my question.
No, I'm gonna answer when you're done. I'm listening to you.
Look,
I'm listening to you. It is. So let me speak then.
We got it. We can go back.
I got you. So when you're done speaking, then I will speak. If it's a conversation, you have to let me speak.
So can I ask you, and you can answer quickly, so I can land my plane?
I will answer all of the things that you've mentioned and then get to that. Because no. But what you're doing is you're throwing points, and you don't want me to respond. You want to now jump.
I just asked you a simple question.
Are you done speaking?
I'm not done speaking.
Okay, then finish.
So, bro, Usman, this is not how a conversation works.
See, now you know you don't want to listen to me. That's why you're going to this.
It's not about
Go ahead.
that. You know I'm a good
I listen to you. No, you're not, man. Right now you're not. Right? Because right now, I listen to this whole thing, and you're not letting me finish, all right?
You know
so
I'm
now,
a good listener.
If you're a good listener, show it.
Oh, man.
Like, don't say it, show
You
it.
a good listener, too?
I am. That's why I listened to you this whole time.
Whoa.
I'm listening.
Look, we both interjected on each other.
No.
And that's natural.
Right now, I've been tasking you, are you done? I'm listening to you.
Right now, you have been.
So now go ahead. Are you done? Are you done?
So can you answer the question?
Are you done speaking, sir?
Can you answer the question?
I will when I'm ready for it.
So doesn't the Quran say that only Allah knows what's in the hearts and minds of men?
Are you done speaking?
That's my question, so that I can land my plane.
Are you done speaking? Can I speak?
Your quick answer?
No. I listened to you. I had a lot of questions there, but I stayed quiet. I listened to you.
Bro,
now everybody's standing right here and seeing. Didn't I tell him, can you finish speaking? I let you finish. Now let me speak.
I'm asking a simple question.
Okay. Can I speak now?
I just want to land my plane off of your basic answer.
Okay. Now, my answer. Okay. Allah is the only one that knows everything, but Allah reveals knowledge to His prophets of unseen things that He makes apparent to them. Some things that were shown to the Prophet Muhammad, shown to the Prophet Moses, shown to the Prophet Jesus were things that we couldn't see, but Allah revealed it. But Allah is the only one that knows everything. As the biblical verse is, Father is the only one that knows the hour. Now, your explanation why it falls on his face is because the things are recorded. Earlier, Danny, alhamdulillah. At least you got that. The word Allah down, man. Right? Now, earlier Danny said, and we've got it, inshallah, I hope it was recorded, right? Where he said that, for example, if he asked me what does zapatos mean, and I forgot, I didn't remember at that time, it was my subconscious, right? At that time, I don't have access to, I couldn't give you an answer until somebody reminds me. That was Danny's explanation, and I appreciate his honesty that at least he's admitting to it. Your explanation was contradictory to that. Let me explain why. Because there's a different, again, this is why. Don't interrupt now, right? If I don't remember the name for zapatos, then that knowledge is not that I'm not declaring. It is hidden from me. It's something I don't know. You said he did know. At that moment, he could have said. He could have given the answer, but due to the glory of God, he decided not to. Those cannot both be. Either I don't remember, and when somebody reminds me, it might come back to me, or I do remember, but I don't say it due to respect for somebody else. Those are contradictory. They cannot both be. And you're trying to escape from it, but you're not going to, because it's on tape, it's on video, it's there, right? Now, mashallah. Look at you.
I'm learning, man. I'm learning all the language.
I'm glad you're learning, man. I hope you're learning more than just the language, right? Now, regarding the veil that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has from us, why is that similitude not acceptable? Because the veil is not from Allah and His own knowledge, like Jesus here. If that's what you're saying, that He didn't know at that time, that knowledge was hidden from Him, that means there's a barrier to Him and the knowledge. The veil is not from Allah and His glory, the veil is from us seeing Allah. It is true that in this world, we don't physically see God. We don't see God with our own eyes. That is something above us. In the hereafter, we will. But that does not restrict Allah any. His glory, His sight, His knowledge is always complete. Nothing is hidden from Him. Nothing is taken away from Him. That is that example is incorrect. Now we're going to pray. We can wait. We can do after prayer then.
I think that's good enough.